Leave you with a. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. No, we'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks. Leave you with a. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. No, we'll do it live.
Okay, hi everybody. How you doing? It's me, Toby Trimmer. Welcome to the Toby Trimmer Experiment. It is episode 5, March 26, 2020, and we are here from the studios in Springfield, in the basement of Springfield, in my basement in the cul-de-sac in Mill Creek. As we get started tonight, I wanted to share with you a couple of things. We're number one, it appears, not to start out all depressing, but Illinois, or not Illinois, the United States of America is number one in COVID, I guess, cases, maybe deaths cases for sure. Hi, John Patterson. Hi, Mama. My mother is tuning in. She'll like this. Tonight, I've got a special glass. I used to fill this up with brown stuff that was a little different. But anyway, this is people might find this kind of fascinating. My mother will chime in. She'll let you know what it is on comments. It's a glass from Prudential Insurance, and that's where my granddad worked for I don't know, back in the 1840s or something. So tonight I want to share with you, or rather have a friend to share with all of you. Some of you may know him, and he's just a really good cat, and I've come to enjoy him quite a bit. Also somebody I work with, like Joe Crane. But he's not like Joe Crane, because Joe Crane doesn't have facial hair. Let's get this camera set up here. But he's our exhibits guy, and I'll introduce him. But first, we have a friend of ours who's with us tonight. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi. So we're going to find out if it was Joe's fault or my fault.
I know. I think Joe broke the internet is what happened.
No pressure.
What have you been doing? What are you wearing today? You were wearing your Springfield Cardinal shirt.
Yeah,
what is
it's a little colder. I went for a walk. I had to pull over on.
What is that, though? What's the logo say? Show everybody.
It's just a golf logo.
Oh, okay. All right. How's the baby?
At the moment, sleeping, or else I'd hear him.
All right. Here's what I thought we'd do at the beginning here for everybody as they come in. I want to load up just a couple other things. I bombed them because I was a little confused on how things were why the feed wasn't working, but it was me. It was user error as usual. So here's a test for you. Let me see if I can get this moving. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share some photos, Jeremy, and you're going to try to guess who the home office belongs to. How's that sound?
Ooh, okay.
All right. So this is going to. All right, let's see. Okay, there you go.
Oh man.
Who do you think that is?
Now, to be fair, is it somebody that I know, or are you just throw random people in there?
That's a fair. There will be some that you don't
looks
know.
That looks like a Rogal layer.
Oh, really?
No.
That's Jim Rogal.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let me go. Let me hide this one, and let me show you this one.
Now, I think I might be cheating, because I thought
you don't actually know this person. So here's what you should do, which is that you should just make up a guess on who you think it might be. Who would be like you? Who do you know who would have an home office like that?
I've been on a lot of conference calls myself this week. So I hate to point fingers.
Wait.
I mean, I don't know. The Post-it note is handy. What are we looking at? It looks like a map. I mean, that's not a weather map for Joe, is it?
No, but that's close. That's a friend of mine from college, Ryan Snow.
Nice.
Yeah, he's Ryan's a good. He helps me beat the hell out of people who would. Well, sometimes we get into Facebook fights, and he's on my side. Put it that way.
Oh, well, that's refreshing.
Okay, now this one. Hang on, I got to write the name in here. Let's see. I'll show this. Oh, got to hide this one. Okay, I'll show this one. All right, who do you think this is?
Well, I thought I saw somebody that posted this.
You did.
Is this
you
Nick
did.
Williams?
Huh?
Was it Nick Williams that posted that?
No, but the correct last name. You wouldn't know this guy either. He's a radio guy. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. It's Jeff Williams. So that's how Jeff works. I'll share these others now that I figured out how to do this. This is always just a kind of a test here.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, all right. Okay, hang on. Yeah. Oh God, hide. Okay, all right. Okay, so well, tell us what else has been going on in your household while we sort of lead up here this is only going to be like 3 hours tonight.
Oh no, we had 15 people over today. It was a cookout. It's the same.
Oh, good.
It's the same as every day.
It was a Thursday, regular Thursday.
I'm in the same spot I've been in for the last 5 days.
And I know you probably don't want to talk work by any stretch of the imagination, but I am going to put you on the spot. I have been seen on the social media that Department of Ag is promoting some, sharing some Illinois businesses.
Absolutely. No, thanks for bringing that up. Actually, we've had some of our Illinois products that are kind of finding ways through these challenges, and we're just trying to highlight some of the work that they're doing. We had a distillery, Stumpy's, down in Southern Illinois, Columbia area, partner with the SIUE ethanol research group, and they're working on ethanol blended hand sanitizer.
Oh yeah. And I saw New York did that. I love this guy out of New York, by the way. This governor is something else, man. I mean,
you and my mother.
Yeah. Did you see the New York brand of hand sanitizer? He did the big press conference or whatever, and it's anyway, they're selling their own stuff. So
no, everybody's stepping up. It's really cool to try to find those stories.
Yeah. Let's see. So oh my God, Scott Maring's on, by the way.
Oh, sweet. Redbud.
Yeah. There he is. Yeah. You want to tell any Scott Maring stories?
No, because he's much larger than I am now.
Well, didn't he used to be larger than you?
Well,
and now he's
larger in a different way. I don't, I hate to admit this, but I'm a few years older.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. Let's bring in my friend Lance, and we'll bring Jeremy in along too. Lance Tawzer, Tawzer, and I can never get it right. But Lance is the man behind the beard.
Actually, hey Toby.
Yeah.
I just want to prepare everybody that's been looking at the logo for tonight's show all day.
Yes.
This guy's on brand.
He is on brand tonight.
Totally.
No, that's
that's
absolutely
really
right.
Impressive.
Yeah, I think he may just have one outfit. So we're going to bring him in on 2-1. There he is. Hi, Lance.
Hello, Toby.
How are you, man?
I'm good.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm sure you had nothing better to do on a Thursday night.
I was home, actually.
Were you?
I just happened to be
here. Lance, you're new to Springfield area, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
You're gonna have to do more than one sentence or one word answers. Otherwise, it makes it difficult.
I have been in this area maybe 7 or 8 months, something like that.
Yeah. And so you came out of the well, you didn't actually come out of Napier Settlement yourself. You lived somewhere else, but that's where you used to work.
Yeah, I had a separate house. I didn't live on the grounds of Napier Settlement, no.
Right.
But I did
right.
work there for a couple of years, and before that, I was at the Elmhurst History Museum for about 9 years.
Right. And so you're like a museum guy, right? Everybody's like, I mean, exhibits guy.
Yeah.
For museums.
20 years.
And 20?
20 years.
Yeah. And so can you tell me all the places besides the ALPLM that you've worked? Because there's more to your story here. But where else have you done stuff?
Well, I left Chicago quite a long time ago. I think it was in 98 or 97, and got a job at a museum design firm in Midland, Michigan, and was there for a couple of years, and then moved to the Washington, D.C. area for about 5 or 6 years, and then was down at the Savannah College of Art and Design for about 3 years, and then Louisville, Kentucky for a couple of years.
What got you started with all the museums? How did you get into exhibit stuff?
Well, that's a good question. I answered an ad I was a graphic designer at little ad agencies in Chicago, and I answered an ad for a museum graphic designer. I didn't really know what that was at the time, and my wife and I had just had our first kid, and we were kind of looking for a place where we could afford to live, and Midland, Michigan was affordable, and so just sort of went for it. And then it was kind of a big ooh-ah moment for me. The light bulb definitely went off that the first project I worked on was for the Field Museum, which was one of my favorite museums. And it was a show called Life Underground. And I did a bunch of graphics for it, and it kind of resonated to me that the work that I was doing could be, to be important. And so I've been sort of hooked ever since, and I just sort of chased jobs around the country, and then found myself back in the Chicago area for the Elmhurst job, and then from there went to Naperville, and then came to Springfield.
So Lance, I bet you this is one that that Jeremy would love to hear. I love the story that you tell of this. You did this project for this. Was it a watch?
Oh,
yeah. Can you tell that story?
This is a good story because I've actually used it in a couple of sessions where you have to share either a failure or a really bad decision. And it wasn't necessarily my decision, but I was working for a museum design firm, and we were hired to build the new Timex Museum in Waterbury, Connecticut. And, it was going to be kind of your typical sort of corporate story. The Waterbury Clock Company becomes Timex, and you had all these great commercials in the 1950s with John Cameron Swayze and all that stuff. And in the middle of working on the project, the owners of Timex, who were new owners more or less, had decided that they wanted to add a component to the museum that had absolutely nothing to do with watches or Timex. They were Norwegian, still are, and they had funded a museum in the Canary Islands about Thor Heyerdahl and Kon-Tiki and these reed boats and Easter Island and all this kind of stuff. And they were kind of juiced up on that. And they came to a big design meeting and said that we want you to figure out a way to make a sort of a Kon-Tiki gallery in the middle of this Timex story. And we all kind of, you gotta be crazy. Nobody's going to get that. It doesn't make any sense. And they said, no, you guys are going to do it, or we're going to find somebody else that will do it. So, we wanted to keep getting paid. So we invented a time tunnel, and you went to the Timex, experience. You go through the time tunnel, and then poof, you're in this really strange big gallery where you learn about the reed boats and Easter Island and how the tides change and all that kind of stuff. And then they rebranded the museum the Time Expo Museum, and they put a big Easter Island statue out in front, and they put a wristwatch on his wrist, and the museum closed.
I love it.
Yeah. It's one of the record books.
Is the place still open?
No, it closed in 5 years.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Waterbury, Connecticut. You can find it, on the internet, pictures of it, and it was a really cool looking museum. It just didn't make any sense that you had this other gallery that was talking about, Thor Heyerdahl and reed boats. I mean, people were genuinely confused.
So Lance, when a museum like that does close down, what becomes of all the exhibits? Where do they go? Do they get sold off? Is there a boat floating around?
I actually don't know what happened to the materials that we had purchased and fabricated for the museum. It may still be shuttered. They had an amazing collection, a corporate collection of these watches and clocks and pieces. But it's very sad in a corporate museum like that. They'll probably just end up going back in the corporate archives. But they had bought an old brass factory in Waterbury, Connecticut, and thought they were going to make a real tourist destination with this museum, and it just didn't work out that way.
Hey, Lance, here's one from Jeff Nevins. I don't know what that means, but anyway, Jeff's watching us for what it's worth. So
I like watching Lance's face on that.
All right, so there's like a dozen little things I want to talk about, but I do want to go back to the really, like, the one that always fascinated me, and there's a lot more to the backstory. But when I first met you, I can't remember what I had said. I don't remember. I was probably being some asshole, like, oh, you got a beard, you probably play guitar or something like that, right? And you were like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. So Jeremy's favorite movie is Dumb and Dumber.
Really?
Well, I don't know. I'm sort of blaming that.
No, but it fits. It fits with the theme. Let's go with this.
All right. Just roll with that, will you, Jeremy?
Yeah. So you'll have to tell Jeremy about that. Well, Jeremy can ask you all kinds of questions about what's the magic connection. That's the teaser, right?
Exactly.
So the connection is that in a previous life, before I was a very serious museum professional,
yes,
I was a full-time musician trying to make a go of it in Chicago, and the band that I formed coming out of college got signed to RCA Records, kind of on the heels of Smashing Pumpkins and the big scene blowing up in the early to mid '90s, and so we were sort of caught up in that, and we signed essentially a 10-album deal with RCA, but we only made one record, and that really didn't do anything either. But the benefit was that this new Jim Carrey movie was coming out, and since we were on the label and that soundtrack was going to be on RCA, they gave us an opportunity to submit some songs. And those of you that have seen the movie know that a big part of the early part of the movie is them driving in this dog wagon, the shaggin' wagon, whatever they called it. And we had a car we had a song that just happened to have a lyric in it that said "Take my car" or something like that. And for some reason they thought it would be good. And then they cautioned us that just because they picked our song to be on the soundtrack doesn't mean it will actually be in the actual movie. A lot of these songs that end up in soundtracks are played in the credit rolls, and they don't really mean all that much. And we said, okay, fine. And so they used the song, and then we went to see a premiere showing, not the premiere, but a premiere. And our song is in the middle of the movie. It's kind of a bit of an anomaly, and we'd had no idea that it was going to become this kind of weird cult movie. But there's a scene where the two guys pick up the mafia guy, the big mafia guy, and they pick him up as a hitchhiker or as a car broken down, and they take him to a diner, and they put like hot peppers in his burger or something like that, and he dies. And then they run off and they jump and start driving in their car, and the cop comes in and says, did you get a make of the vehicle? He said, yeah, it was a 74 Sheepdog. And then our song starts right then and plays for like a couple of minutes. And when we were in the movie theater, we kind of flipped out that it was actually in the middle of the movie. And then, of course, we were geeky. We waited till the end, till the credits rolled up, and it had the song. And the band was called the Lupins, and the song is called "Take." And I was a songwriter as well as the singer of the band. And so my parents went to go see it, and they hated the movie terribly, but they waited till the end to see my name. And they pretended to be proud. But the weird thing happened was that the soundtrack went gold, and I got a gold record. And for a while there, every once in a while you get these royalties, which was nice, but now they're beer money. It's nothing nothing to write about. But every once in a while, a check will arrive in the mail, and I remember, oh yeah, I was a musician once, and so all the rest of the music is lost to history, and the only thing left on Spotify or anywhere else is that one song and that soundtrack. That's my claim to fame.
So where did all the guys from the band end up?
A couple of them went to New York. One of them went to LA. They kind of scattered like the wind. They all thought they were going to go on to the next greatest thing, and I was a little older than them. I was the level-headed one, supposedly, and I had recently got married.
Usually the way I am.
Right. That's what I've heard about you, Toby. Very level-headed. But yeah, so I had recently got married, and I was ready to kind of move on, but they all tried to have a go for it, and none of them really did much of anything after that. But we will always have that mid-'90s when we toured all over the place. We did a bunch of opening act slots for bands that actually had audiences. We were the band that people had to suffer through before they could see the band Bush or Everclear or Filter or some of these other ones. We were the ones that they were just like going, okay, when will these guys finish? And so we did a bunch of tours like that, where we were just this little band in a van following a tour bus around to play 30 minutes.
That's wild.
That's so cool.
There you go.
So what was your so you went all over the country doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we did mostly college towns. We did Austin, Texas, and Ann Arbor, Michigan. Just some of these great college towns throughout. We played at the Whiskey A Go-Go in LA. We played at CBGB's in New York. We played at really crappy bars everywhere. Sometimes for pizza. Sometimes was involved.
So you didn't have like a really cool like tour bus?
No.
That's definitive.
I think the best we ever had was like we rented a used Winnebago once, and we did a proper tour where we were opening up for another band, and we had enough dates in a row that we could warrant renting something like that. And then we got in a bunch of trouble because we trashed it, and the rental company wasn't happy when they got it back.
Yeah. Okay, so you do that, then you get in, you land on this museum sort of,
which is very logical.
Yeah, well, no, you did graphic design and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah. So then you get this museum gig, and you kind of figure out like it was not. I mean, like if there's something we enjoy, I think we end up we're good at things that we enjoy. So you clearly you enjoy what you do, and you figure out I'm not too bad at this, right? So, so what was that? Now we can talk about the ALPLM just a little bit if you want, but what was it? And we talked about the Timex thing, but I am kind of curious, like what's the coolest? What exhibit did you get to design and do that was like your thing that you thought, like the one where it was like they give you everything you want to do, well, theoretically everything they want to do within the parameters? What was the one you're most proud of? And
well, I don't know if I can really land on one. I've done a bunch as a consultant for smaller museums, so I've been involved in some really big ones. I didn't design this museum, but I was the project manager and the lead on the Wright Brothers National Park Service site in Dayton, Ohio. Wow. And that took about 4 years of my life. And even though I wasn't the designer, the designers were a subcontractor to the company that I worked for. And, this was one of these ones that sort of aged me a lot, but it was a labor of love because you knew you were doing something really important that was going to be a part of this country's history. It's called the Dayton Aviation National Historical Park in Dayton, Ohio, and it has a couple of components. One of them is sort of a recreation. There was a building that the Wright brothers used to be printers before they were bicycle makers and before they were flyers, and that was the only thing that they could find in Dayton, Ohio. Unfortunately, our friend Henry Ford took the family home and the bike shop to Michigan with him, which we would never let him do in modern times, but who was going to say no to Henry Ford back in the day? So Dayton, Ohio, and the west side of Dayton wasn't a great part of town either, but they had this really great story to tell. You're talking about these two, basically high school educated people that solved an engineering riddle that the entire world was going to solve. And so it was a great story to tell. And then on the east side of Dayton, where is now the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, was where they used to fly at the Huffman Prairie Flying Field. So this museum had sort of a visitor center. They had a bike shop, but it wasn't the real bike shop. And then they had this historic building called the Hoover Block building, where they had a print shop in it. And then on the east side of town, they had this interpretive center called the Huffman Prairie Flying Field Interpretive Center, which rolls off the tongue too. And I was so proud of that, just to be involved in that. And it was one of these scenarios where you're in the right place at the right time, and you're working with amazing people. And we had just an amazing experience. And then like a 4-star Air Force general came to one of the openings and gave me one of his general's coins, which I didn't know what that was.
Like a challenge coin or whatever they have.
They're like porcelain and gold, and they hand them out, and they're not really supposed to talk about it. And I didn't know this whole cheeky thing where they put it in their hand when they shake your hand. And I thought he was being kind of silly or whatever. But so that was that was got to be a career definer. And it's probably one of the reasons why I came to ALPLM, is because, again, we have an amazing story to tell, and we have this amazing building to tell it in. And I'm just sort of just super excited to be a part of the team that's going to, be a part of how we evolve the story moving forward.
So Lance, along those same lines, what would be something that you did devote some time to that you just feel went completely underappreciated?
Completely underappreciated.
I mean, I can't believe that no one is coming and recognizing the value of what I just. I mean, and maybe it's the Kentucky boat. I mean,
that was underappreciated for sure. I actually have been involved in a couple of these smaller museum projects where these are towns that have a good story to tell, that are part of the fabric of what makes America America. They don't have a ton of money, but they've got passion, and they care deeply about their story. And so I did a couple of them. One for the city of Oswego, Illinois, which is a Fox River town, and I've done a couple of them like that. But Toby knows this, that I do some consulting work for the Illinois Humanities and
we lost him, didn't we? We lost him on the
cliffhanger.
He does well. That's probably the Illinois Humanities was probably like, he's out, right? So hang on, Lance. Hang on. We see you back. We see you coming back.
Big brother.
There you are again.
I was getting too nerdy, wasn't I?
I thought it was censorship, that you were about to unveil something that.
Yeah, watch this. This is going to be really wicked. Look at that. Whoa! I don't know why you're on twice, man. That is so wild. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to tell everybody. Lance is a twin.
I can't do it very well, though.
Freaky.
Yeah, is this television?
I got no idea what the hell happened there, man. I'll see Jeremy's up front, and that he doesn't want that. I don't want that. So wait, Oswego.
Oswego.
We're gonna get this back. There you go.
There we go.
A project for Oswego, which was really cool. And then the other thing that I do that I really enjoy is in the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street program, where they find small cities that have a connection to whatever their story is. And they hire an exhibits guy to come help them create a tandem exhibit for the Smithsonian exhibit they get to host. And when I get to these towns, these people in these towns just really take in everything and really want to do a great job and really want to, and it's just a pleasure to work with them. It's just super cool. That's museum stuff, though.
All right, hey, I'm gonna hide you again. Is that like sound all goofy, Jeremy? Did his sound all goofy?
No, I enjoyed everything he said. I don't know why you talk like that.
Thank you, Jeremy. I like him.
Crazy. Hang on. I know it is wet now. Where's Jeremy going to land? He's on the bottom.
It's like the Brady Bunch.
All right. So, well, I'll tell you what. I was on the phone with a friend of mine. Everybody's like on the phone with everybody. And I just recently, well, you know him, Jeremy, Eric Douglas. And we were on the phone and he said, and he's cooped up in his house too. But so he said that he's like, oh, I like museums. And he's been to DC and he's been all over the place and he stops by museums and he says, I have to tell you, he was like, that Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library Museum really is like one of the best institutions, right? And he's not blowing smoke or anything like that. And obviously, it's the the whole museum that we have. Lance, what is so unique about that museum that is sort of different than others? What's your take on that?
Well, if you would have asked me about 15 years ago when it first opened, I probably was like a lot of other museum snobs and nerds that when I had heard that the creative team, Bob Rogers, were affiliated with Disney, that museum snooty side of me would have said, well, how good can it be? It's probably really touristy and Disney was almost a term that was used in the museum to say that you've sort of cartoonized your story a little bit,
Right.
And then actually, my wife was a chaperone for a school trip for my kid. And she went down with a school trip and came back and was just beaming about this museum. And I was like, all right, yeah, I've heard about it, but how good could it be? Da, 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 da. And so I was part of the Illinois Association of Museums, and we always meet in Springfield for Advocacy Day. So I made a point of heading over there to see it. And I sort of got it. It works because the combination of the drama and the settings and the story and where they decided to put their messaging was so much different than a lot of the approaches that a lot of museums took, that it was going to ruffle a few feathers. But it was one of those things that you weren't really going to appreciate it until you saw it. And that's what happened for me. And so I was like, oh no, this is great. So every time I was in town for whatever meeting, I'd always head over there and I'd like to see the shows and I'd wanted to see the exhibit and then whatever the changing show was as well. And so I'd been sort of keeping my eye on it a little bit, and then as fate had, I ended up there. So good things happen.
I think Illinois is lucky to have you and to do it for sure. And you're our pleasure to work with, obviously on a daily basis. And I'm just kidding, Jeremy. I was trying to clear my throat, but and then I didn't want to cough on you guys. So,
appreciate that.
Jeremy, have you seen that bridge, the Skyway, 6th Street Skyway? No, it's not.
Yeah, the banner that you guys put up.
Yeah, Lance put that together, working with the historians on that, which is it was cool. Those guys turned that thing right around and
timely and needed.
Yeah, for sure.
So
let's do this with just let me ask you this, because I know that you just took a trip, and but there was a whole lead up to it, and you did explain the lead up, like, well, my wife got me this and we did this thing, and so why don't you just go ahead and tell
the whole story?
Yeah, tell that cool story. You don't have to tell the whole story, but just, it really is. Put it this way. Your life, if I'm not mistaken, your life has dramatically sort of taken a turn in your identity a little bit, correct? Over the course of the last just less than 6 months here, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Since I've been working here, actually, the story kind of goes, well, I'm an adopted kid. I always knew I was adopted. I had some lovely parents that raised me and told me all about that stuff. And I never really had any big hankering to track down my birth parents anytime. I'd thought about it a few times, but never really. I'd always assumed that there were these strange circumstances, and who wants to be reminded of that? That could be, it could end badly, that kind of thing. Both my adoptive parents have passed away, and it's been 5 years actually. And I think my wife and I were listening to a podcast called Family Secrets, I think is what it's called. And they were telling, this one episode was talking about these adoptive kids that had tracked down their birth parents on Ancestry DNA and 23andMe. And some of these stories were just super heartwarming and really lovely to hear. And some of them were really tragic and very sad, that a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartbreak. And we chatted about it, and she was like, maybe we should do that. I'm like, yeah, maybe I was a little hesitant. And then she bought me a DNA kit on my birthday last April. And I kind of hemmed and hawed and dragged my feet a little bit and didn't spit in the tube right away. And she kind of said, well, let's just send that in. And so I did. And I guess the way it works is, you spit in the tube.
Just as a side note, and I think Jeremy would attest to this, don't you agree, Jeremy, that you really want to think about it before you spit in a tube?
Typically.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't just have to be a tube, to be honest with you.
Well, good point.
It's a general rule, I think, before I spit.
That's a good point. Go on, Lance.
No, sorry. Important note.
Right. And then so mailed it off. And then about a month later, you get an email that says, we've got all your DNA information. We've got all this stuff. Yeah. And big surprise, I'm Irish and Scottish and English. I'm as pasty as you get anyway. I knew that. But it had these two significant DNA matches to people, and they were not distant cousins. These were close. And
wait, they were both cousins?
No, these were not
okay.
cousins. Because when you look at the app, you've got these like distant cousin relations, and whatever the DNA chemistry, the amount of match that we have was really high in these two people. And one of them was a 70-something-year-old guy in Florida who turned out to be my uncle on my mother's side, and unfortunately, finding him verified that she had passed away in 2003, I think it was. But this other match was the quandary. It was a 47-year-old woman in Spokane, Washington, and through a little bit of digging, I surmised that her father must be my father, and he was alive and well, living in Tucson, Arizona. And I tried messaging her on Facebook and messaging him on Facebook, but didn't hear back. And so I wrote.
Can I ask you, like,
yeah.
what was the message though? Like, how do you write that message? You don't have to get to. I just like, how do you? Well, Jeremy and I spend a lot of our years writing on a regular basis. How do you write that one?
I mean, do you dance around it, or do you just?
No, I think I went straight forward. I think I said, hey, I just got my Ancestry DNA results back, and it looks like we're closely related, something like that. And I gave them a little bit of my backstory so they know I wasn't like a Nigerian prince.
I was going to say, did you say, and by the way, if you could just give me your bank account, I have $15 million I'm going to put in.
Just give me $12,000, it will.
I'm in the Illinois Department of Corrections. And so not few methods resulted in any feedback. And so I decided just to write him a letter, write my birth father a letter. I tried to word it as non-threatening as possible. I sent pictures of my family and talked about my upbringing and everything. And I just said, well, if you knew this person, then you're probably my birth father. And so I mailed it off. And about a month
at this point, you don't know what's going to happen. You're like,
no.
respond.
And I'm sorry, where was the birth father living at the time?
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. Okay.
I'm from California originally, and so I was adopted in California, San Jose, California. So all of these people would have had connections back to California. So and so I write him this letter, and I think maybe it was about a month later I get an email that said that he was blown away, that he did date this person that turned out to be my birth mother, and that he had no idea I even existed. And he was very nice, but a little guarded at first, and said, "I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to order my own DNA kit, and if it comes back positive, then we'll have a chat, and it'll be a happy chat," or something like that. And so I was like, "Oh, that's cool. At least he's being nice." And so he mailed his kit in. He spit in the tube straight away, apparently, and he sent it to. And then I think it was about a month later that he sent me another email, and he just said, "It's official. I'm your dad, and I'm blown away, and I never thought this would happen." And he just, he gave me this lovely description of his other kids and his situation, and he said, "Well, I want this to be the beginning of a relationship. If you're okay with that, let's keep chatting, and let's talk on the phone at some point," and that kind of stuff. And I was.
Well, let's figure out you're not crazy first.
Right. He probably did a background check.
Yeah, I know, because when my real father looks me up, he's going to see all these videos.
Right. So over the
your real father is well aware.
Right. So over the next few months, we talked on the phone quite a bit. I spoke to his daughter on the phone and his sons on the phone. And that was the other thing. I was really genuinely concerned about what their reaction would be. Would they be weirded out? Would they be threatened? Would they be just like, what does this guy want? And they have all 100% been unbelievably genuine and unbelievably welcoming. I mean, I was just brought to crazy emotions I never thought I had, because I never really thought I'd ever find a birth parent or anything like that to begin with. I never really fantasized about it too much, but it all happened very quickly. And we sort of danced around talking about maybe getting together at some point or another. And the holidays went by, and then because they were living in Arizona and it was getting cold here, I thought, well, maybe it'd be good if my wife and I just popped down and met with them, and a nice little first meeting, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it seemed like a good idea at the time. But what ended up happening was
we're staying at the Motel 6 or something, have dinner.
We're going to meet at the Arizona, Denny's or whatever. But they actually really stepped up, and they said, "Look, we're going to rent a house in Scottsdale. It'll be a big 5-bedroom house, and all the kids are going to come, and we're going to spend a 4-day weekend together getting to know each other." And wow. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
It's like, what?
That's awesome. That's
cool.
At
first. And it's and because we were having these lovely chats, and my dad was starting to send me a lot of family history and all sorts of stuff that I never had before. I was really feeling like I was getting to know them a little bit. But the whole idea of not like having a hotel room to go back to, but having to stay in that house with all of them was a little frightening. Just
before you go, right? So you don't.
Now we've set the trap.
Right.
Exactly.
The ritual can commence.
So the first night was just going to be my wife and I, and my father and his wife, and that was nice. I mean, it was a little awkward at first, just because we're meeting somebody that we've been talking to on the phone a lot, and we have this weird new genetic connection. But it was not awkward for very long at all. In fact, we went out to dinner. We really enjoyed them. And then one by one, the kids showed up. The kids, they're 40s and 50s, on the next day, and we just had this just an amazing sort of weirdly familiar bonding moment. So I think the two brothers and I stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning the first night, and just sorted out the world with theories and everything else. And it was just scary as to how much of a rapport we developed so quickly. And when you grow up as an adopted kid, I had siblings that I had no genetic relation to, and so there was none of that. Oh, this is what we do, and this is the way we talk, and this is I had none of that growing up. So it all came to me all at once at age 54, which was a little overwhelming. Yeah. we spent this unbelievably lovely weekend with them. We went to a couple of spring training games, and we just had this amazing experience. And we were so lucky that we were able to do it before the virus sort of took over and changed everything, because we had this lovely little window in February. And now that's the other thing. So we've started to video chat a little bit, but it's been more than that. So one of my half brothers, turns out he's this unbelievably fit fitness guy who owns a CrossFit gym.
Probably, I think I've seen pictures.
Are you a CrossFit guy?
Jeremy's a total CrossFit guy.
Right.
Okay.
No.
Well,
no.
I have
Globo gym. I do dodgeball, competitive dodgeball.
Oh, right. Globo. So I have a brother who is like one of the most fit men over 45 in the country. He goes after these competitions, and he is amazingly fit, and he posts videos of himself doing things that humans ought not to. But he started doing these videos. Since his business has slowed down with the virus, he's recruited us to do these CrossFit WebEx Zoom sessions with all of the family, with kids and
this guy sounds like a total asshole.
No, he's great.
Oh
He's
my
actually
God.
great.
He's taking advantage of you right out the gate.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit sore today because he's working us a little harder than I'm used to. I've been working out about 100% more than I normally do, so it's been painful.
This is a great comment from Nevins. There you go.
Right. There's that old saying: what do CrossFit people talk about?
Yeah, CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right. Well, but Dusty, this guy Dusty is just an amazing, genuine guy.
Right there. Yeah, that's it.
There we go. Cinnamon notes.
Yeah.
Right. So, and these guys, these new family members, just have really sort of jumped into our lives, and we've jumped into theirs, and it's been mutually just a love fest. And I keep pinching myself that I'm related to them, because they're super cool and they're nice and they're genuinely good people, and we have so much in common, and it's just crazy that it's happened so quickly and so wonderfully.
So this meeting in Scottsdale was literally just in February.
It was just this February, yeah. So, and the only two blood relatives I've ever known before these guys were my two sons. So meeting these people en masse in this way was overwhelming, and there's some nice pictures on Facebook where you can definitely see there's a family resemblance, and that's just not something that I've really experienced before.
So how long do you wait before you drop the gold record Dumb and Dumber thing?
What do you mean? Let them know
about that. I mean, do you be like, hey,
I don't
do CrossFit,
but yeah. So it's funny that they Googled me. They brought it all up. They know all my stories now for the most part. But I'm probably going to do some like guitar lessons for their kids, virtual guitar lessons for their kids, because I gotta give back a little bit, because they've been doing a lot for all of us. And I mean, their love of board games, their sense of humor, everything it's just been a real crazy just a flood, if you will, of
I think that's super, super, super cool. And this is and it is, I mean, aren't we fortunate to have the video conferencing stuff and that, I mean, now that you know these people, right, you've seen them face to face, and you sort of, I mean, it does suck that I think all of us can't just up and move around, or rather shouldn't anyway, get up and move around like normal times, but at least you have this communication, and you can continue that with these folks, just to see them. I think that's just the coolest damn story ever, and I'm so glad. I was so concerned about it's like this is a gamble, man, right? It's a gamble. Right. It was like, hey, come across the country and come meet us. Honest, we're just as cool on the phone, And you don't know, like, if you like show up and he's like, the one thing I never got you when you were a kid because I wasn't around was footy pajamas, and here you go, and then you got to wear those all weekend or something.
Right.
So I just think that's just the greatest story, and I think that what a delight for you, and what a new, this is such a new experience, and they have not met, people haven't met your boys, correct?
No, just via video. And, obviously at the end of the weekend, we started making more plans for more visits, and we'd love them to come out here. I'd love to show them the museum. I'd love to, have them stay here at our house in Petersburg on the lake, and then all the virus, stuff. So it kind of put a hold on some of the plan making, but my kids have talked to them, through video chat and stuff like that. So now that's super cool. They've got a new grandfather. They've got new aunts and uncles. It's just a great story. It could have gone the other way. Actually, Toby and I had talked about it quite a bit at work, and we had a lot of anxiety flying out on this trip. And Toby wrote me this really lovely note because I was really kind of hemming and hawing about just how this is going to go over, and you kind of want people to feel good about who you are and everything like that. And Toby wrote me this lovely note that made me feel a lot better about it.
He's good at that.
Yeah, and although I tell you, we were wrecked even at the airport. It was at that time where you put your carry-on luggage on the little conveyor belt to get screened, right? And we're so wigged out and freaked out that we're getting on a plane, I just left it there and then walked through the thing. And then they start doing that whole thing where there's a bag sitting here, there's a bag sitting here. And I'm like, oh my God, it's me. They ended up sending it through again. I had the whole airport police telling me that I had to go out and go back around, but they were nice in the end. But I was just sort of out of my sorts.
Can't imagine.
I'll tell you what sucks is when that kind of stuff happens, and you're coming back from Mexico and you've swallowed over 4 pounds of black tar heroin, and you're like, oh, you're hoping it doesn't pass. You know what I mean, Jeremy?
Shouldn't have done that 8th balloon.
Right. Exactly. Look at what Andy Dunlap says.
Yeah.
Well, wait. How old did you say you are, Lance?
54.
Bam. How on the money is Andy with the 10-year gap?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Bam.
I point out though that I had the glasses with the Tintin before Toby had them.
Well, he's
just trying to be.
I'm so friggin' jealous of those glasses. They are so good. They've got yours, man. They got this beautiful like green tint to them.
Yeah, there are guys that can just do it, and then there are guys that just look like they're trying really hard. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I think Toby looks like Bono from U2, though.
Like who, Bono? If Bono was fat and bald.
Well, for starters, yeah, okay. You're calling him Bono, so there's that.
That's so Lance, I'm not going to take up any more of your time other than you get a little bit of a parting out of here. What 54 years old, you've been as Dad would say, around the block and through the alley. What kind of tips, advice, and all that other stuff? What message would you like to send to people who are just pulling their hair out on cooped up and dealing with this whole really crazy, bizarre alternate universe that we're all facing?
Well, yeah, it's a new normal, isn't it? And I guess I keep thinking about the healthcare workers on the front lines and reading their stories. And Springfield's got some amazing hospitals, and I'm sure the people that are working there deserve a lot of credit for doing what they do and facing what they face. It really got scary really quickly, and I think one of the benefits I think of sort of this forced isolation is is sort of forcing more of this verbal communication, because too many of us, have our noses in our phone, and we're not really making a connection with people. And even though we're not physically in the same space, for us, we're making a lot more connections than we have when we're home on a whatever watching Netflix. We've done like 5 or 6 cocktail hours with our friends. We've done these CrossFit workouts with my new family, and I think there's a bright side to it. I think there's as much as I'd love to be hanging out and be back at work and not feel so cooped up, I think there's opportunities for us to learn from this situation, hopefully, and be better people coming out the other side.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you at short notice saying like, oh, sure, I'll do it. I hope you didn't feel pressured to. Not that you would say so now, but it's I really appreciate you sharing it. And I know, we get little comments from people, and I get little messages. Everybody seems to kind of like the ability to, or rather, the ability to listen to sort of interesting folks that I know. And if you got any ideas of anybody that's more interesting than you, let me know, Lance. Would be happy to have them on.
Nobody exists like that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought. Hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow. That's a guarantee. But I appreciate you coming in tonight, man.
Thanks, guys. Be well. Stay safe.
Absolutely.
Stay healthy.
See you, Lance.
All right, buddy. See, isn't he cool?
That's very cool. Actually, you know what? I was thinking the whole night, because there are people that are looking over your shoulder and they're like, hey, didn't he have more toilet paper over his shoulder earlier? And I'm like, yeah, I think he did too, and I'm not sure. So then I start doing that with Lance, and I'm pretty sure, maybe he can comment, I'm pretty sure he had was it Stonehenge over his fireplace? Did anybody else see that tonight?
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. He's coming on now. See, he's still there.
Stonehenge.
Is he still there? Is it? Am I right? Is that Stonehenge over your fireplace?
It is. I took
God,
that.
you guys are making this tough. Here, hold on, Jeremy.
It's a fun game to play. What's in the back?
Stonehenge.
There you go.
That's one of my favorite songs.
Oh yeah.
Lance, everybody thinks you're in a cabin. Are you in a cabin? You don't have to give away exactly where you're at.
No, I'm. This is just the front room of our house. So this one room was done with these logs, and it faces the lake. So it's very rustic and fun.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Yeah, it's a cool place. Jeremy, do you have any more questions about his house?
About his house?
Or anything?
Other details I've noticed over his shoulder over the last hour?
I just kicked him off, and you're like, oh, by the way, I think that was, and then
it's Stonehenge.
Yeah. Yep. Look, people are looking over your shoulder when we do this, and that's
bing, bing.
Okay. All right. Bye, Lance.
Thanks,
Bye,
Lance.
guys.
Okay. So, no, isn't he a cool dude?
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, look, the museum stuff is great, and then you get that whole adoption Scottsdale story.
I know, and then the Lupins. Remember them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So what do you got?
Well, I liked it. Them and Bono.
You're a dick. So I want you to. I think we got. I think I'm gonna not do this Friday and Saturday, but Sunday I think we have a really big thing that you got to join us with. And I'm just going to give everybody the heads up here because, look at this. Does this surprise you? There you go, Corrigan. He's got a loop.
Does that say A or V?
Yeah, right. I'm going to.
No offense to Lance.
I know. Corrigan, send it over. I'll have Lance sign it for you. And send
Absolutely.
Me some, it'll cost you. So I'm looking at these comments. So, all right, Felice is going to come back.
Hey, I got to say hello to Grant. Grant actually logged in, and
Well,
I don't know how important this is to get somebody in that demographic watching your
oh my God,
FaceTime thing.
Hang on. Where I saw he had a comment. Oh my God, look at this. What's his profile picture look like? There he is. Him and got it. Oh my God, who's that little kid next to Grant?
That's his. That's my grandson.
Oh.
Yeah.
I always thought Grant looked just like Barack Obama.
Yeah. No, he's the one on the left.
Barack Obama is?
Oh, no, Grant.
Grant's on the left. Yeah. Oh God, that looks like that is Barack Obama.
Yeah. Back when we were people.
Yeah, back when we met, right? When we were I used to be somebody. So here's the thing. Let me see because Felice is going crazy here. These comments. I love that guy. Look at this. Here you go. So Sunday, Felice is gonna bring out for us on live video his flamethrower from Georgia. Yes, does he have one? You bet your ass he has.
Because he lives in Georgia. He has a banjo and a flamethrower.
That's right. I said to him with those tasers, I'm like, hey man, are those, is that legal? And he's like, he just keeps trying. He's like, yeah, I was thinking some states they're not. And then he just keeps going like, oh yeah. So you got to join us for that. Big weekend plans. What are you going to do? Maybe hang out at the house, relax?
I think we're just going to stay in this weekend. Just kind of just relax and maybe just, I think we're just going to keep it the three of us probably.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. Just because it's been a busy week.
Right. Yeah.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Right. Thanks, Tobe.
Yep. Bye-bye. Okay, that's it. We've run about a whole hour's worth, just over an hour, 62 minutes. So you got to find something else to do after this. I do understand that there is that that really good tiger show that's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet. But here's what I like to do, and I forgot to tell Jeremy about this too. One of the things I think we're going to maybe try to do is if I can get Jeremy, and maybe we'll get some other people. And I think Jeremy, well, he's still in the feed. Let me see here real quick. I forgot to ask him this question. 3, 2, 1, and there you are. Here's your question, Jeremy. Hi.
Hey,
have you watched that tiger show yet?
Of course.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal. So that's fine. But I tell you what we'll do. When I get it settled, like it's, I think this thing's we got at least another week of this quarantine, probably at least another year and a half of this quarantine. I'm going to watch these episodes. So you'll watch an episode. Is it in episodes, right?
Yeah.
Or is it
they're like 45 minutes long or so. Yeah.
So I'll watch an episode and then we'll prime everybody up and I'll watch an episode and then we'll spend some time with talking about those episodes and then we'll bring some other people in as well. How do you like that idea?
Oh, I think there are a few people that have been following that show.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I bet if we do that, people are going to watch this shit.
Right. Well, I mean, I've got some ideas for some tiger petting that we could do on here. We could kick it up to maybe, I don't know, 52 viewers.
Oh, you're a dick. Bye. Okay, everybody. So that's what we're going to do. So on Friday and Saturday, we're off. But we have had a fun week. This has been kind of a delight to have everybody follow this stuff and see how we're doing things. Who we're bringing on and having folks share. I am running out of friends. I've gone through and people that are willing to do this. So anyway, in the meantime, wash your hands, don't touch your face, be nice to somebody else, and we will see you on Sunday at 8 o'clock.